Really?
40s is almost like you almost become like a legitimate adult in your 40s.
I could feel that because
Yeah.
I was telling the growth that I did from 30 to now is like, I can't even believe I did it. I'm reading books and taking things more serious. I'm a father, doing all that stuff. It's just sometimes it's just like, it's mind blowing. It took a long time to grow up. But that's why I was saying last night at the dinner too, I'm thankful that I got into this at 30 because I'd have fucked this all off in my 20s.
Oh, yeah.
The toughest door
They don't do it.
to open is your car door, right? They
Right.
always say, like, once you get out of that car door, everything else is easy. But that car door scares a lot of guys from getting out there and getting to work.
But there's always going to be things that come against you that, you're really not that good. You pretend to do this, you do that. You know what I mean? It's like that negative self-talk. We all have to battle that. I don't care what level you're at. That's just like part of life. And you can have all the success and look what I've done the last 20 years. In this business, none of that matters. What matters is what are you doing today?
You are now tuned in to the best roofing podcast in the world. The Roof Trollz.
We ready to go?
Right into controversy, right on the Roof Trollz. We are ready to roll again.
Hey,
I got
buddy.
Mike with me. We're here at Hook Agency. Got some cool guests. One of our guests that I'm really excited about, Ty Adams. Ty, why don't you let everybody know who you are?
Ooh, how long do we have? That's a loaded question. Yeah. So my name is Ty Adams. I own a consulting company, coaching, whatever you want to call it, called Adams Business Results. I've been in the insurance restoration niche, which I don't like saying niche. I prefer niche, but I believe it's actually niche. But that's something about me that, I got to go against the current. But
I just started learning how to read a couple years ago, so like, your way.
it's a whole new world, right? Don't make me bust out in the song because
dude, I would love that. I'm into that. We got the
you
mics
guys
here,
are the
dude.
karaoke kings, right?
Oh yeah.
When are you going to start that podcast, Karaoke Kings?
We should. We'll get Gabi to come on and do it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, have you been karaoke with Mike?
No,
Dude,
No.
What do you think? What do you think he does? What songs do you think Mike
Oh,
does?
he's more like a what's the classic New York gangster guy?
New York gangster guy.
New York.
You mean Frank Sinatra?
Frank Sinatra.
No,
there you go.
absolutely
Nope.
not. That's
Nope.
the furthest
Nope.
from anything.
Okay, Right Said Fred.
No.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Queen.
Nope.
No.
AC/DC.
Nope.
Nope.
You're
Man,
way.
I thought
you're
you knew
way
me.
off too. You're like way off.
Way off.
Yeah.
Man, I thought we were
Okay.
friends. I'm offended.
Lionel Richie.
No, dude.
Nah, maybe. Maybe
Well,
once in a while.
I
we'll
guess
throw a
if
Lionel
you got
Richie
him
in
drunk
there.
enough, possibly.
I mean,
So-
Penny Lover. I could see him doing Penny Lover.
Bro, he rolls
Or
out.
Hello.
He rolls out with Warren G, with Michael Jackson. Dude, he was feeling himself. I got to show you a video later. I got one from
So
when we were
are
in
you,
Utah.
like-
Come on. Don't you remember? Weren't you there when we were at the event at IRE? I know John Michael had recorded it, and the band was playing the Backstreet Boys, and they recorded me like singing and dancing. You might have left already.
I don't think I liked you at that time. So
No, you talked my ear off that day. But then again, that might just be
I
everyone.
get that feeling. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I've been
Right.
working with him for a long time, and I still don't know if I like him or not.
yeah.
I don't know if I like me.
All right, so I don't know who went off to the tangent because I'm really good at tangents, but I think these two are as well. So I started in this business in 2002. Before that, I was a database, just different database type application programming stuff. Before that, I was a bartender, and before that, I did childcare. I ran youth services. I was a youth services coordinator for St. Louis Park School District for 7 years.
And that's
And
where
that
you
was-
got your Connect 4.
My Connect
strategy.
4 game, was honed, fine-tuned.
He broke down last night. We had a steak dinner, and while we were at dinner, we had a little table conversation. And Ty, I'm not going to give it away.
Yeah, I appreciate
Look
that.
how anxious he's getting.
I bled for
but
that.
I'm not going to give it away. But Ty broke down the psychology behind Connect 4. Yes, Connect 4, because he used to dominate, in his words, against third graders. And
He was smarter than a fifth grader on Connect 4.
Hey, but you know what? He developed a strategy, and after he explained it, I was like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a method to the madness, but yeah, so that was pretty funny. But go ahead.
Yeah, if you Google it, that strategy, there'll be a ton of information out there. But my strategy was forged in 1990.
Jeez.
So the internet was, everybody was dial up at that point in time. I mean, that little little pulse,
Yeah,
that type of
my
AOL,
grandpa was the only
American
person I
Online.
knew that even had internet at that time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm excited about today? That we can talk about like 1990, and for me, it's not a big deal. These guys always make fun of me. They're like, "When did you start roofing?" In like 1874.
Right.
Like, these guys just make fun of me about being old. I am old.
90s were cool and all, but it was the 80s actually, and most people that didn't grow up in the 80s and they find out about the 80s, they're like, "Dang, I wish I would have grown up in the 80s."
Yeah, the 80s would have been cool. 90s was cool. I'm younger than you guys are though. So I was born in 86.
86.
So
you're
I
16
experienced the
years
90s,
younger
though.
than me, so you're what, 40, no, 30, 36, 37?
30, I just turned 38.
38, okay.
Yeah, and so last September, I didn't just turn. I'm gonna be 39 in September,
Yep.
but yeah, I turned
Okay.
38.
So you're about to round the base into the 40s. By the way, I love 40s.
Really?
40s is almost like you almost become like a legitimate adult in your 40s.
I could feel that because
Yeah.
I was telling the growth that I did from 30 to now is like, I can't even believe I did it. I'm
Yeah.
reading books and taking things more serious. I'm a father, doing all that stuff. It's just sometimes It's just like, it's mind blowing. It took a long time to grow up, but that's why I was saying last night at the dinner too. I'm thankful that I got into this at 30 because I'd have fucked this all off in my 20s.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way I would have took this serious at all.
If you had, like when I see the kids that come into this business, 19, 20, I've seen kids as young as 18 make $250,000, $500,000.
You guys got one on your team.
If that would have been me during that time, yeah, it's like there's no limitations. And when you're that age, turns out they are correct about the old prefrontal cortex. Doesn't fully develop until you're 25, and that's where your logic is processed.
Mine must have been delayed.
It could have been.
Yeah.
My adolescence was delayed. I didn't do my partying until late 20s.
That's literally, so I tied down like an idiot to a girl that I'm not with anymore, obviously. But for almost a decade, man, between, the two relationships, almost a decade, but, I didn't have any money. I grew up in a poverty situation. I had my own apartment because I was like, I had to be out of, my mom's house was a house she couldn't live in. I'm not going to go down the whole broken homestone, but it's just not livable.
Right.
But I feel like I didn't get to live at all. When I moved out to Indiana, I got a one-bedroom apartment, actually, by luck, helping Angelo move out of his in the same building.
Yeah.
And it changed the course of my life forever. But going into that, I didn't start partying until I was like 28. And then I had a kid at 30. And then about 32, when we were all like, hey, man, this has got to be, I was in the industry at 2 years at that point, but I was like, hey, this is going to really change my life. It is. And it's going to be consistent because I'm going to get better at it.
Right.
So then from 32 to 35, I was like, hey, man, you're onto something here. And then when I hit 35, I was like, dude, this could be bigger than I even imagined it would be. And here I am at 38, and I haven't even scratched the surface, man. I interview people like you, and, we had Tony Fathom on here and stuff like that. And like watching what those guys are doing, it just really opens your eyes to like, man, we're not even unlocking even a quarter. He hasn't even unlocked a quarter of his potential. You have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they often say success leaves clues, right? And so, like you're talking about Tony and guys that have been successful. I always say anybody that's lasted longer than 2 years in this industry, there's something pretty special about them.
2 years, huh?
And there's something a little special about them. I'm saying because there's a lot of 1 year, like they'll come in, they'll make some money, and then they're like, yeah, this isn't for me. Like, I made 150,000. I never made more than 50 before, but knocking doors sucks. And it's like, okay, well, hey, you're right. This knocking on doors, working with the insurance claims, there's a lot of frustrations, a lot of things that, you can sell 100 contracts and if you built 50, you would be lucky. Or you would about average, right? So that's signing a lot of contracts where you don't actually get paid. You don't actually get any deals. But if you are the professional, you understand you are getting paid because that's teaching you how to become better.
I would say outside of being, because you're talking about the industry and everything, outside of being maybe a professional athlete, this has got to be the greatest industry you can work in. Like, this has been the biggest blessing in my life, is becoming into this industry, and this is like the greatest thing that ever happened.
Right. Well, the barrier to entry. So, we all know you don't have to be 172 IQ to do this, right? In fact, I prefer emotional intelligence over, book IQ intelligence. You've got to be able to have the work ethic. Like, you can get in for that 1 year and do your thing, but you have to be so mentally strong to stay in this business, because I don't care where you're at if you're a new owner or a sales manager, or you just started out, or I've been in the business for almost 25 years, doing the consulting coaching stuff now, but there's always going to be things that come against you that, oh, you're really not that good. You pretend to do this, you do that. You know what I mean? It's like that negative self-talk. We all have to battle that. I don't care what level you're at. That's just like part of life. And you can have all the success and oh, look what I've done the last 20 years. In this business, none of that matters. What matters is, what are you doing today?
Yep. You're only as good as your last performance for sales. Yep.
Right.
I tell my guys that all the time. Took me 6 years to turn a camera on. 6 years. Like, I just kept beating myself up mentally, telling myself, hey, man, you can't get on a camera, dude. People are going to laugh at you. People are going to roast you. People are going to, they're going to say this, they're going to say that. And then at the end of the day, it's like, man, fuck them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got something that I want to say, and I think that people need to hear.
Dude, you're such a unique cat. I mean, what you have to offer, there's nothing generic about you. And that's what people love about you, I presume, is, your authenticity. It's like, I've never had a conversation with you, and I've seen you have conversations with other people, and I don't see anybody walking away like, yeah, that guy's a clown. He doesn't know what he's talking. You know what I mean? You know when somebody's kind of faking it, right? But so yeah, that's awesome that you're able to overcome that, because what you have to offer is tremendous, and what you have to offer, nobody else has to offer. So yeah, keep it coming, man.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I try to play on the uniqueness too, and me and Angela were talking about it when we had Tony on there too, because we went to dinner last night, and we get to dinner, and it was an amazing dinner. It was the best dinner I've ever had. I've never experienced something like that.
Manny's Steakhouse is, dude, like,
so good.
I have not found a better steakhouse. Not that I've been all over the world, but Manny's Steakhouse, Minneapolis, Minnesota, is like the bomb.
Oh, that was the best Rockefeller oysters I've ever had in my life. The steak was amazing. The desserts were,
Did you have any of that lobster?
Yeah, I split it with Angelo.
Those lobster tails are.
It came out the size of a football. I was like, I've never even seen a lobster like this.
Everything is huge.
Yeah,
there, right?
It was just absolutely amazing. When we show up to this thing, you know how I am. I'm t-shirts, jeans, straight bill hat, like nice kicks. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
But I get in there, and Tony's in a sweatshirt, and you're just in like normal gear, like sweatshirt, jeans and stuff. And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Like that really gets me fired up, because it's so cool to watch other people that, well, you guys are doing huge things, and your success level is on a different level than mine is. Like, you guys are a lot further along in the game than I am. But watching you guys be so humble and present yourselves as who you are, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to wear a suit. Right. You guys don't need to, never flashy about anything. Like, people wouldn't even know that you guys are at the rate you guys are in your lives, by just meeting you. Like, no one would know that, right. And that's something that I'm hoping. One, that I get to the level you guys are at, and two, that I'm able to do the same thing that you guys are able to do as far as like humility goes, because that's
they might have
man.
An indicator if they see us get out of one of Tony's vehicles.
Yeah,
they might have an indicator.
Yeah. We briefly. I didn't bring up the fact he had a Lambo on here, because I didn't. I don't know how he's gonna feel about that, but that's still mind blowing to me.
What I love about that is that Tony didn't just make a bunch of money 1 year or 2 years and then decide to do that. Like, that was something he had wanted long term, and he could have gotten that a lot sooner. But it's one of those things that he strove for, and then he finally got, and it was something that he had to go out and earn in his mind, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he could have done it earlier, but it also just kind of shows like, he's not a flashy guy, but he's a non-flashy guy with some flashy shit, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's badass because we were
Right.
talking about that. So like the getting into the gold thing, because that's what I'm starting to do now. Is like reward you. You know, you reward yourself. Like for instance, I didn't buy my first truck till last year. That was and I've been doing this for a while. I've been making okay money, and I never did it, but I bought my first truck, and I'm like, man, I really wanted to get it. And
What were you selling in before that?
So company vehicles. Okay. I never even owned one, dude. Like I said, the first vehicle I had in here, I totaled. I started as a canvasser, Chrysler Pacifica. I worked for Mid-America. I'm not happy about this, but I'll be honest with everybody about it. I was looking at roofs like a dumbass driving, smashed into a pole, totaled my car. So then the second car I bought a beater, $1,500 Trailblazer, was leaking oil. I couldn't park it in customers' parking in their driveways because it would leak oil. And I drove that around for a little bit. It had like the windows where you had to roll down and stuff. So that was the second one. And then after that, he got me a truck at Mid-America. I worked there for a little bit. I went to another company. They got me a truck. Went to another company. They got me a truck. And then before I knew it, it was driving company trucks around. And then I bought Amanda a vehicle. I bought her a 2017 Equinox, the first one we bought in like 2019. And then I came back. And I was in a really good spot last year. I gave my mom that vehicle with under 50,000 miles on it. And I felt really good. Yeah. And then I bought Amanda a Bronco. And then Amanda told me, she's like, hey man, she's like, you got to do something for yourself. Like you need to do this. Like you bought me 2 vehicles. We got a house, done all this stuff. So I'm like, all right. I was going to go modest. She pushed me. So I was looking at just a Ram. I wanted to buy a Dodge Ram. And one of my dream trucks was a Ford Raptor. I just always wanted one. Yeah. And I texted her about it. I said, hey, I'm looking at this Ram. She goes, well, why aren't you looking at the Raptor? And I'm like, well, because the Raptor is this much. She goes, get the Raptor. So I like send it to her and I'm like telling her the cost stuff. Like she's like, no, get the Raptor. And I'm like, okay. So I got it. And, I love my truck, but it made me open my eyes to like, hey man, maybe I should do this sometimes, like to set goals for things that I want. So my new thing now is I want this watch that I saw at a watch recently, and it's $1,500, which it is expensive for a watch.
Is this the watch you had on last night, or is this a different?
Yeah,
watch?
This is what I had on last night.
Okay, because I was looking at it, I was like, that's a big watch.
Yeah, it's called a Diesel. It's a Japanese watch. I just started learning about them, but I looked at this one too. Full disclosure now, for a year before I bought it, and this was only $250. Okay, but I looked at it for a year, and I'm like, man, I really want to get that. Yeah, I went in there and I got sold. He knocked out 50 on it, so I got it for 200. I'm like, all right, I'll take it. But I've been looking at a $1,500 one, and I'm like, I really want that, but I'm like, I can't just go buy that. I can, but I don't want to. Right. So I was like, all right. So I set a goal. So our goal now is 18.5 to 20 million is what we want to do. Yeah. So if we do 20, I'm gonna go get it. Okay. And that's like my reward to myself. So I don't have Lambo money. But one day, hopefully. But I do like the idea of like working towards something. Right. Even though you can afford it, doesn't mean you should get it. You should.
I mean, and that's the huge lesson that anybody can learn. Whether you're at 60, I mean, you can change your habits, your spending habits, the way that you go out. I mean, if you're just impulse buying everything, that's why it's like, dude. I don't know about you guys, but I am sick of Amazon in front of my house. Right?
Well, for me, it's Starbucks, dude. I bought a ridiculous coffee maker for Amanda, an espresso machine,
like a professional one. Yes, like $400, $500.
Yes, she was like, "It's so expensive." I said, "You know what else is expensive? $17 every day being dropped off on my porch because you don't want to drive 10 minutes to the to Starbucks. You want to have it just delivered." Yeah. And then now my daughter, she's not even like 9. She's in the vanilla bean frappuccino, no coffee for her. Oh, yeah. But now she has to have a drink because mom gets a drink every day. Yeah. So now it's like $24, and this is daily.
Dude, this is daily. How old's your daughter?
Yeah, she'll be 9 in September.
Yeah, that's like the pink drink at Starbucks is the bane of my existence.
Oh, the dragon fruit.
Yeah, whatever
pink
like
drink.
The big pink bomb, and you know, my wife and my 2 daughters love it. So like,
well, my daughter,
like if I had my pink drink money back,
dude.
It'd be a good down payment for something.
So it's funny. So Amanda just started working, so we've had her income for 2 years, and she'll every once in a while she'll throw out one of those, "What's my money?" And then that's when I'm like, well, hold on a second. Now let's talk about this. Yeah. So it is your money. You're absolutely correct. So now let's add up what you spend every day at Starbucks.
Yeah.
And then we'll deduct that out of what you put in the bank account every month.
Yeah.
And then I got reason to believe that you don't have as much money as you think you do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because like those things add up to it. But so I bought her this machine and she's been using it, and it's awesome. It's worth the investment for the fact that we haven't bought Starbucks in like 2 weeks.
Oh, it's
so
huge.
like, yeah, it's glorious, and I hope she sticks to it. But man,
Yeah. So you started working for Mike at Mid America.
yeah.
How were you guys connected? Like, did you guys grow up in the same neighborhood? Did you have a mutual acquaintance, or how?
So here's the it's a cool story because nobody in the roofing industry ever set out to be a roofer. So I went to an event, a drinking event called at Devil's Trumpet. I don't even think they're around anymore.
Yeah, I think they went out of business.
Amanda's grandma's boyfriend owns a liquor store, and he invited me.
Okay.
He said, "Hey man, I got these 2 VIP pass tickets. Would you like to go to this event with me?" And I'm like, "Sure, dude." He's like, "I'm only going to hang out for an hour," but he's like, "But it's good craft beer. We know the people who own it and stuff. There's going to be bands there." I'm like, well, "Hey, you know what? It's a Saturday, daytime, whatever. Yeah, let's do it." So I go to this event, and I'm broke. I don't have any money at this event, but he gives me all these tokens because the VIP thing comes with like 10 tokens. So like they get you some beers. So I'm just like, just enjoying the day. You know, I'm just hanging out with him. His name's Bill, shooting the shit with him. And I get a text message from Ryan Ward, who I did know. I've known Ryan since I was like 12 years old. He lived like a block behind us, and it was his partner that ran the Indiana office.
Okay.
So Ryan had already reached out to me several times to try to work there, and I was like, "No, man, I'm not knocking doors. Like insurance pays for roof. It's a fucking scam, dude."
Right.
So I'm like, "No." So I'm sitting at this Devil's Trumpet place, and I get this text from Ryan. He's like, "Hey, man, are you there?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you by chance have the VIP pass?" And I said, "I do." And he goes, "Well, there's this beer there that I want to get, some stout, like chocolate, oatmeal stout, whatever."
Yeah.
Ended up being infected, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he's like, "I need these, and can you get them for me?" I'm like, "Well, I don't have any cash, man." I'm like, "What is this? You know, like what does this cost, bro? A 4-pack, $100."
No way.
Yeah,
Come on.
$100. So I'm like, "Brian, I don't have
Is there,
$100 to spend on 4
peyote
beers
in there or something.
Well, here's the thing. I'm like, "I don't have $100 to spend on 4 beers." He's like, "I need you to get 4." It was like 4 or 5 cases.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, "Ryan, what? $500 on beer?" So he's like, "I'm going to come up there and give you the cash, but only VIP passes can purchase it."
Okay.
It wasn't to the public. It was like a private beer thing. I didn't know anything about this.
Right.
He also got me into craft beer and flights and everything. He changed my life.
Yeah.
So I get these beers for him, and I'm like, "Listen, I'll buy them for you, but there's a stipulation. One, you guys gotta drive behind me on the way home because I've had a couple beers, and the other stipulation is, I want one. I want one of these beers. If I'm going to buy these, like I have to taste what a $25 beer tastes like."
Right.
So he gives me them. Tastes like shit. Which later find out that it's infected. But when we get to my house, I'm in between jobs at this point. I put my 2 weeks in at the hospital. They let me go.
Okay.
And Amazon's going to be opening up in 2 weeks.
What were you doing in the hospital?
Maintenance and like overnight, like just cleaning up stuff and whatever they wanted me to do.
I bet you've seen some stuff.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I worked in the ER too. So yeah, I saw some crazy shit. I was like, well, he was like, "You need to come knock for us." And I was in between. And I'm like, well, it ain't going to hurt. You know, I was like, but I'm not going to be around long enough to collect a commission. So our mouse was like, well, we could probably do like some type of, pay weekly or something like that. You come and check it out. And I'm like, all right. Well, Ryan hits me up. He's like, "We're going to do it was like $10 an hour or something like that." I'm like, I got 2 weeks to kill anyway. I anticipated having a job and rolling in another one. So I'm like, well, I'll try it out. And that's how I got my foot in the door for canvassing with him. But about 2 days into it is when it dawned on me. So the first day it was a shit show, man. He had these kids there, and none of them were doing shit. We were just walking around neighborhoods. They were getting doors slammed in their face. Like I didn't even know what the hell we were doing. So then the second day I'm at lunch with this girl, Amanda, who worked there. Coincidentally, same name as my fiance, but this other girl who worked there named Amanda, and she's like, "They hooked my aunt up with siding and a roof." And I'm like, "Well, how much does that cost?" And she was like, "Well, it didn't cost her anything." And I said, "Well, how the hell do you get all that for free?" So she goes on to explain to me that she had a $500 deductible. Times were different back then. And the deductible was rolled into the whole thing. Long story short, it was just paid for. And I'm like, well, who paid for it? She's like, the insurance company. I said, we're not knocking to bill homeowners for this. You guys are, the insurance pays for this? And she's like, yeah. And I said, all these people are paying for deductible. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, how in the fuck are you guys not closing deals? I said, well, I'm gonna go knock, because their sales manager wouldn't let me at that time. He was like, no, you're not ready to go knock doors. Hell with that. Lined up 4 on spots, ended up getting 3 signs that second day. I told Amanda, I went home that day and I said, hey, I believe that there's money in this, and I believe that we can make money, and I think I'm gonna quit Amazon, and I think I'm gonna focus on this. And she was like, no, you're fucking not. And her fan was like, no, you're stupid. Like, there's no guaranteed money, all this shit. I said, all right, you guys are right. I probably should stay a little longer and see if the money comes. I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. Next morning on my way to work, I called Amazon and I said, hey, I'm out. I'm out. I told Amanda when I got home that night, I said, babe, I quit. I said, I'm sorry. I had closed 2 more deals that day, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but
it's a good thing you did.
There's something here.
It's a good thing you did, because I've seen a lot of people that have the capability and the talent to succeed in this. But if you are not all in, right? I mean, this job's tough enough. If you mentally are like, I'm just going to kind of hang out and see if this works, it's hard for you to get to that point where I like to say the difference between everybody wants to, few people got to. And when you quit it, when you say, I'm not coming in, no thanks, now you got to, right? Now the pressure's on you. And that's another reason why I love people in this industry, because everybody reacts differently to pressure. And in order for you to continue to succeed, you have to be able to handle that pressure in a professional way. We all know people that have been in this industry, and they may even still be in this industry, but people don't want to work with them because they're hotheads, right? That's what comes out of you is what's in you. But when you're squeezed, that pressure, that's what comes out of you. So if you've put 25 books in a year into your head, if you spent time, at conferences or going to masterminds or doing that development, that's what helps you find.
Well, I was a hothead in the beginning, and that's what made me open my eyes, because 2 years into it, nobody wanted to really take me seriously, and that's why I left Mid-America, was because the growth wasn't there. But later on down the road, when you start to actually break yourself down, you realize that the growth wasn't necessarily not there. I just wasn't ready for it.
Right.
So I had to really hone in on that and be like, dude, why don't people want to work with me? And then you find out why people don't want to work with you, because you're a cocky asshole.
Right.
So you were good at talking. You talked your way into contracts. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
But then you didn't know shit. I didn't know anything about roofing.
Right.
I had been selling roofs for 2 years. I had maybe been on 30% of those roofs. I'm being honest. That's how I know to do things the right way, because I did everything the wrong way.
Yeah.
So when I got into this, I didn't climb roofs. I talked to homeowners. They fell in love with me. We signed deals. Thank God there was actually damage on their houses and they were getting paid for it. But that's just the reality of it. I didn't have any training either, though.
And that 30% number is very high.
The what?
We used to always joke about Elijah. We don't even know if he got on a roof the first 2 years at all.
Yeah, and I was doing these apartment complexes, dude. I did a 5-building apartment complex, never got on the roof at all. And that's not something to gloat about. I said we laugh about it now, but I could have fucked those people over. That's
so
fucked up.
This guy didn't train you?
No, come on, man.
What's going on over there?
Not back then. No, that was
that wasn't my forte.
Yeah. No. What was your forte?
Training the guys, just organizing and bringing everything together, and planning dinners at Manny's and stuff like that.
Bringing the party ball in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the first times I met him, we were at this previous engagement, and we were in a hotel in Indianapolis, and when they had a break, they brought out the disco ball / speaker for tunes and whatnot, high energy. I can't remember what
we put on some music, and then we all just started jumping around, and
yep. And I was like, okay, I don't know about this.
Well, we had we'll send a couple extra shout outs there. Heath Hicks was there. I think he was like, what's going on with these guys? TJ for sure. TJ Albert, shout out to you too. He was for sure like, what is wrong with these guys? And somehow JJ Beard, shout out to you too. We're still friends after all that, because he was like, he told me, he's like, man, what is wrong with these guys? Like the two of them. Like,
didn't JJ just was he with GAF?
No, he was with TJ at that point.
No, but where was he at?
Oh, he was GAF prior to it.
Right. Yeah. So he hadn't been with TJ for very long.
I think 2 years,
at that
a year
point
or two.
In time. Yeah, I remember JJ. He was over on the side. We had those tables like in a U or whatever, and I was like, That looks like a serious cat, right?
Well, my first interaction with Mike is why I stayed in this industry. It really is. So I worked with Ryan maybe 3 months before I met Mike again, because I met him the first time when he took me home. But then after that, I didn't see Mike, but inside the office, everybody was like, oh, yeah, this is, he's the owner and all that stuff. I just remember when I did casually walk by him, every time, dude, he'd be like, how many contracts did you get this week? And I would tell him, he'd be like, damn, dude, he's like, good fucking job, and I'm like, oh, thanks, man. And then I would get paid. And some people in there, he paid every Friday. So some people in there would see these checks coming and I would get animosity from a lot of them. Like they would, you know how it is. Office people never want to respect a salesperson's hustle, but salespeople are assholes. So like we kind of gloat a little bit so we can understand it now. But at that time, I never really get it. But there was two things that had never been said to me in my life, and he always said them to me. One was good morning, and the other one was good job. So like I'm sitting in here, and I go to work every day, and he's, hey man, what's up, dude? Hey, how was it in the field yesterday? And I'm like, it was good. It was good. Like, you good? Yeah. And then he would be like, hey man, you're doing really well, or hey, I have some checks that some people aren't picking up, and I've noticed you've been hustling. Why don't you go grab these for me? So then it became like I started like going to do more, and they were putting money in my pocket. And then before I knew it, Mike's like, well, have you ever, you got to come to these events. And I'm like, well, dude, I've never flown before. 30 years old, never flew before. He took me on my first plane. Yeah. Went to my first event. Started learning about beer with him. Started hanging out with him after that. And then
he ever give you? He's got a famous piggyback ride. You ever given him one of those?
He has not.
You haven't given him the piggyback?
The piggyback. Is this like
we'll talk later.
Is this some drunken night that I don't remember? Because there's plenty of them. So
I don't know. I don't know what you don't remember, but
not a lot.
I barely remember what I did yesterday. I stopped drinking a little bit over 2 years ago, so I have been around you when you've been drinking and I haven't.
Oh, I know.
And that is a good time. I do like that. It is good entertainment for the sober guy.
Yeah,
because you always see that moment where all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, there they are. Yeah, they're like, hey, what's going on? And before they were like, hi.
That's awesome.
It's pretty fun to watch.
But he was just a good dude right out the gate, and he was just treating me like a human. Yeah, and at the time, like, just people didn't, especially salespeople. Right. And at least the ones that I knew from Mid-America, because I'd been there and I watched so many. It was a revolving door. And so many of them go in and out and stuff. And then we just had a falling out because his partners and I did not see the same philosophy. And he wasn't really at, in a spot where he could change. They were trying to do things that I just wasn't into. Right. So they had we reset the pay structure one time. I earned my way back up. We reset it again. And I'm like, nah, man, fuck that. I've been the top dog here for 3 years. Like, you're not resetting my shit again. I'll just go somewhere else. So then I ended up going somewhere else. But I told Mike on the way out, and I stayed to that. So two things that happened there that changed my life forever. And it's my biggest accomplishment when I tell people, they're always like, oh, they're waiting to hear like how much money you made. It's not that. It really isn't. The coolest thing I ever did in this industry, and it still remains true to this day, was walk away from $100,000. It felt so fucking badass to do that. So I had just bought my house. I bought my first house in Valpo. I was super pumped about it. I told my realtor, I said, hey, what happens if I quit my job? Like, while I'm trying to close on his house. They're like, dude, it's going to fuck everything up. They're like, you can't do that. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, huh, all right. So the day they gave me the key to my house, like, I quit over there. So I walked away from the money that was on the table. But I told Mike, I said, hey, man, we'll cross paths again. I really enjoyed working for you. We're not on the same philosophy. Yeah. So we later did obviously reconnect. But that was such a cool moment for me because I bought my house, and you talk about pressure, and that's like some of the shit I was doing to put pressure, because we were behind on our bills at first when we first started this, and Amanda's like, I don't know what we're gonna do because the car's breaking and stuff. So I just went out and bought a car, and she's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, well, I'll hit more doors, I'll work longer, like I'll make it happen. So then when the house thing went through and they gave me my key, I walked away from all the money that I had on the table there, and then I quit as soon as I unlocked my door. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'll bank, it'll be fine. And I did find somewhere to land on my feet again and turn it around. And then we bought a bigger house, and it was nice. But that moment that we did that, like, it was crazy, walking away from that amount of money and then still telling him that we'll work together. Cause I had, he was the first person to
Well, I think it's such a key point about burning bridges, right? I mean, you can leave a company, and I've always said this, whether it was whether it was my company that I owned or I was, a president or a consultant or whatever. It's like, we've got no issues if you leave the right way, right? I mean, there's so many times that people kind of put things under, brush them under the rug. They don't really say anything, and then when it's time to go, they act all weird. And it's like, dude, we all left someplace and started our own thing, so we can have that respect if you're going to have that entrepreneurial spirit. But don't circumvent your ethics because if I don't tell them, I'll be able to get another $3,000. So there's a couple of times that I've left places. The first time that I left, there were 10 jobs, and I just said, hey, I'm done. Don't call me on these jobs. I'm not doing any work on these jobs. I don't expect to get paid on these jobs. We're just having a clean break. And that's what we did. And the funny thing is, I saw that guy at a Owens Corning IRE party, I want to say 2017, so it would have been 15 years later. A lot of people didn't really like some of the people that were running that company, but I felt grateful that he decided to start a company, because if he wouldn't have, who knows if I would have taken the opportunity to leave a programming job to go knock on doors. Mm-hmm. And that owner was a good friend of a guy that I bartended with. So anyway, I saw this guy, this owner, who I said, don't call me again, just take the 10 jobs and we're good. And I thanked him. Thanked him for starting a company that it exposed me to the industry that I am now in almost a quarter century. And I'm just grateful for that, right? So not that we've are connected and best buddies or anything, but the whole concept of bridges being burnt, it's the older you get, it doesn't matter if you agree everything exactly, but when you're in this industry, it's such a small industry, and I don't care what part you're in.
That's the part that people don't get.
Right.
That's what because it's happened already. I mean, in my short time in this industry already, I have seen it. Yeah. He knows personally that I have a list of people who really, they shit on me. They did. Yeah. And now I'm in a position they never expected me to be in, and we have to go face to face sometimes. I see these people, and they know that I'm never going to do business with them, And now some of these people are in a position where they want to do business, and I won't do it with them. Because I believe in that too. You don't burn bridges because you never know. You never, ever know what's going to happen.
It kind of reminds me of that Eddie Murphy routine when he was talking about Ralph Cramden and Norton.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know. I know that you know that I know. I won't finish that one, but
no, I get what you're saying, but yeah, one of these guys, again, I don't want to go down names, but one of these guys looked me in my face and basically told me, hey man, you're not shit. I've seen a bunch of people come in here and do the same thing you're doing in the first 2 years and fizzle out. And he goes, and I'll be in a position, I'll be in my position, you'll be in yours. And I just, sorry, man, you basically, literally, you're not shit. Angelo was my sales rep at the time for a distributor when this happened. He set the meeting up. Mm-hmm. And that same person has gone into the fold and has attempted to try to do business and stuff. And I'm sorry, but I am that guy. I'm cool as long as you're cool with me. But when you do something like that, and this is in 2020. Right. Well, now the guy, I'm never going to do business with you.
It's hard to unknow something.
Yeah.
And when you know something about a person that is just doesn't sit right with you, or it's unethical or ugly or whatever, mm-hmm. you can't just get rid of that out of your.
Yeah, it stains your brain.
Right.
But then to be told, to your face, because this guy, he had balls, I'll give him that. He literally, to my face, basically told me I'm not shit. And Angelo was in complete awe. He was apologizing to me afterward. He's like, bro, I would not have put that meeting in there and stuff. I'm like, hey, don't worry about it, man. It happens. And then here we are now, fast forward 7-8 years later. And guess who now? Right. Guess who now wants to do business?
The amount of pride that takes for one individual to say that to another person like that mm-hmm. is, and if you understand anything about pride and humility, you understand that person will eventually fall. The pride will bring them down. Mm-hmm. Whenever you put yourself above others, that you deserve something or you should be on this pedestal, it's coming.
And the worst part about it is the guy's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy him as a person now.
Right.
And we have like connected a little bit, like we have conversations and stuff.
Okay.
But I still can't because of the way it was done. Like I still can't. But I've forgiven him. I have moved on past that.
Yeah.
But I'm still not going to break bread with you because I'm, keep the same energy. I'm not shit.
Yeah. For me, there's a couple of guys that, one that you know for sure.
You know this gentleman too.
I ran into this guy in the airport in Phoenix. I had a layover there, and I was heading to Dallas, and we just crossed paths. And he said, "Ty," like
Elijah, you know this guy too.
like we're best buddies, and he basically did me dirty because I got him into a place, and then
Snaked you out of it?
when he left. He didn't give me the courtesy of just want to give you a heads up, maybe even get some advice. And it was all a pure selfish, like he thought he was going to make so much money by making this particular move. So he's never apologized for that. And if he would apologize, I'd be like, "What up, dude? Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you for saying you're sorry." Because I've done that. I've screwed up, and I've said sorry to people.
Yeah, you got to own it.
And then there's another guy that...
Did you say what's up to him, though? Or was it like...
No. So he said, "TY." And I said, "What's going on?" And he looked at me. I said, "Where are you going?" I was hoping he wasn't going to the IRE.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "I'm heading home." I looked at him, and I said, "Good luck with that." And just kept walking. So I wasn't going to get into any kind of nasty, but
yeah.
I also wasn't going to give him the... "Oh yeah, we're all cool."
Yeah.
Right? It's we would be cool if you made it cool.
Yeah.
I'm never expecting perfection from anybody, but just have a conversation. I don't care if you leave or if you're going to go do something else. Do it the right way. And people will respect that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the next opportunity comes around, be like, "Hey man, I appreciate the way that you left. I'm thinking about doing something new. You want in?"
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
And people figure out things just because someone's not shit now. Who knows what happens in 7 years? Maybe that person starts developing, like you said, their brain starts developing. They're like, "Oh, hey, maybe I should apply this." Mm-hmm. And then they go to a whole nother level because success happens so quickly sometimes, and you just like lose sight of it. Dan Walrack would be a prime example of that. That guy didn't want to speak or anything. He's openly said he didn't, he wasn't embracing that. But hey, you know what? The industry had different plans for you, bro. When you do something like $18.5 million you're going on a stage, brother. Like those cameras are getting turned on, whether you want them to or not, and you just never know,
And he's built for that, by the way.
Yeah, 100%.
There's not the $18.5 million has a lot to do with Dan's magnetism, right? He's kind of a larger than life kind of a guy.
Yeah,
and customers, I sure appreciate working with that type of person. And that type of person is also going to excel doing these things, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got a ton of knowledge, can be very helpful. And the bottom line is Dan's worked his ass off, right?
Yeah, he told us last night he's been in this since 98.
Right.
Which is crazy. I was 12 years old.
People will see Dan can do 2-3 million by just being Dan. But you still have to work, right? Dan is still, yes, he's made these connections and he's had customers for multiple times over the years, but you still got to go to work. So all the people that are listening to, whether it's us or Dan or anybody, there's so much great information out there, right? But you still got to go do the work. You still got to get out of your truck. You still got to go knock on the door. You still got to make the phone call you don't want to make. You still got to talk to a mortgage company about a check that they've been holding longer than they should. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can develop any process, but until you actually implement it, it's worthless. Yeah. And sadly, most people don't.
The toughest door
they don't do it
to open is your car door, right? They always say, like, once you get out of that car door, everything else is easy. But that car door, it scares a lot of guys from getting out there and getting to work.
And it's so easy. I mean, back in my day when I started, we didn't have these little computers in our pockets. I had a Nextel phone, right? So you could still be distracted and do nothing. But now it's like guys are watching movies or they're playing a game or they're, catching up on their communication. So easy to get distracted by that. And that's part of getting out of the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Because
it's a good weapon too, though. That's the other thing too. Like,
big time.
Because this is a virtual door knock, Like if you utilize it the right way,
Right, for sure.
It's amazing what phones can do now. So
if you do a virtual door knock with a physical door knock, now you're talking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, you got companies that are usually one way or the other. They only door knock and they do very little marketing, and then you got ones that put a ton into marketing and they don't door knock. It's like, put those two together and you are an unstoppable machine.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of like what we're getting into now. Is at Romans, when I got here, that was what I wanted to do. That was the main knock on the place that we all used to work at, was like, hey, man, like, you got to let me be a little bit creative here. Like, we got to do something, because the content's so fucking stale in our industry too. Even people who are doing big things still, like, it's like the content's dry.
Right.
And I was like, well, I have some creative ideas and they might be outside of the box, and a lot of them are. But the main thing that we're competing for is attention. I'm not competing for money and all that stuff, because it'll come.
Right.
I'm competing for attention. I want to grab people's attention, and then I want them to look at Romans as like a destination spot for a salesperson to land.
Right.
And I believe that if we do, even if we make less as owners in the beginning, more people who want to work there is more sales. More sales is more money. You're going to grow. So if I can get and retain 30 good, solid sales reps that believe in our structure, believe in us, and look at this as like a family, then dude, we're gonna conquer more than 80% of the companies out there.
Yeah, it's all culture, right? So is that kind of like your bucket? Are you the culture guy, or what do you got going on over there?
I mean, I guess, what's funny, the transition I made in, so Mid-America, the financial side of the business was a complete and utter mess.
Yeah.
Right? And then meeting you and meeting some other people along the way, I've really dove into that to really dig into the financial side of the business. So it's funny. We'll give a shout out to Corey Fody. Him and I will work on financial stuff, budgeting stuff, and like that. And like, I know the stuff inside and out.
Do you have a nickname for Corey? Is it like Sea Dog or?
No.
Oh, I call him Core Dog.
Core Dog?
Yeah, that's what I call him, Core Dog. Yeah, COREDAWG.
No,
that makes me hungry. I want a corn dog now.
Oh man, I want anything right now. I'm starving.
I just want to choke him out sometimes. But Corey, I love you. Even though I've wanted to choke you out many a times, we work great together. But no, it's just the financial aspect of the business. And what's crazy is too, I'm very sales oriented, sales background, everything. But I really care about the production side of the business too. So I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, because at the end of the day, Elijah can go out and sell a deal. I can go out and sell a deal. You can go out and sell a deal. Now, what's behind that? Because we've made all these promises, and if you can't keep those promises, what did you really do then? So at the end of the day, we make the promise. Now, how do we deliver on that promise? And I think that's very important, because we're going to get more customers out of that. I mean, the whole thing with the marketing of us doing this is, our guys are going to be at the door. People are going to recognize them. We put the guys on the podcast. So someone, let's say like David Serrato, one of our new team leads, if he's out there in the field, people are going to say, "Hey, I saw him online," or at IRE now. People are going to
Roof Trollz swag. Yeah.
So I went off and did on some on my own, but we are going to do that. Yeah, actually, the sales team's asked about it, so I think that we will do some type of collaboration. Maybe throw Roman's logo on the corner of them, and then the Roof Trollz on there and stuff. Okay. But yeah, that's the game plan. I hope that the podcast, becomes something. I'm not saying like Joe Rogan, something like let's understand that. But I believe that we offer a different, a uniqueness on our podcast that other roofing podcasters don't have right now.
Yeah.
I think I think it's something that will catch on eventually. And then, honestly, we've been thankful for the amount of people that reached out to us even to be on the show. There was a couple people that I wanted to get on here that I thought would be, hey man, further down the line, those people care and stuff like that. And no, man, some of them have reached out to me. Like some of the guests that I have on here, I know are highly touted by other people to get on their shows, and these people are like, hey man, I'll come do Roof Trollz. Like let's shoot the shit. Let's get together. And like I'm so thankful for that. And then some people have really gotten what I'm trying to do. Deshaun Bryant is, is one of my homies, but he reached out too, and he said, I can't wait to get on there, because you guys just look like you're shooting the shit, man. It just looks like it's so laid back and just cool. And that's the vibe I want to do. Like, we don't script anything here. I'm not trying to, we don't want it to be stale, man. I want to learn who you guys are, but I also want you guys to learn like where we're coming from. And my hopes is that people in and out of the industry what they'll say is like, man, Roof Trollz is like, it's really fun because those guys are just normal dudes doing really cool things. Yeah. And then they have no idea how fun you guys are. Like they really don't. Like, people don't know, as much as you guys put yourselves out there and stuff like that, they don't really ever get to know the actual people behind that shit. Yeah. And that's what my goal is to when they come on here and stuff. So like, I'm really excited that you guys were all, coming on here.
Well, hey, Ty, real quick, because I want to get to something because we're going to have to wrap up here soon.
Sure.
But you have several hats here.
Oh, yeah. So
you want to talk about what all the different hats are that you have?
So anyway, because I'm wearing the earmuffs, I'm not going to put them all on, but I believe this is my Patriot hat.
Yes, you have your Patriot hat on, yep.
Okay, so Patriot, the hat's so very important to me. Number one, my brother who passed away at 47, so take care of yourself. High blood pressure is a real thing.
Did he know he had high blood pressure? Was he on medication?
No, dude stayed away from the doctors. Like, he, as a kid, I think like at 1, he had the flu and he was in the hospital and they gave him so many infusions and different shots and stuff. He couldn't stand shots, couldn't stand the doctor. So he just stayed away.
Scary, man. So, I have high blood pressure. I'm on 5 milligrams.
I got high blood pressure.
Lisinopril.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Lisinopril.
But I see my doctor though.
Right. Yeah. No, that's the key. It's like, I take a pill. Like, I've lost probably 40 pounds, and I'm like, okay,
congrats.
I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop doing my high blood pressure because now I'm good. I measured the thing, and I'm like 160 over 110. He's like, nope, I'll go back to the 1-a-day pill. Yeah. Right. Yep. So anyway, he was my marketing director at this company called Patriot Service Network, and I love this hat because it's where I became most humble in my life. So I started this company. We expanded across the country, 7 different locations: Wichita, Omaha, Denver, Cleveland, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, obviously, Cedar Falls, Iowa. And it crashed and burned in 2011. We had, to the tune of $1 million, people steal the second check. And it was at a time right off of the mortgage crisis where people had mortgages on their home for like $500,000. But the banks only valued the house at $200,000. So there's no equity. You can't put a lien on these properties. So I had to shut that whole thing down, laid off everybody like the week before Christmas. I mean, it sucked. And when you're an owner and you can't pay your bills, it's just not bad business. It's criminal. If you're a general contractor and you take money in from a customer, and you do the rob Peter to pay Paul, very few do it on purpose, but they do. It happens. And so that's what happened to me. And I wasn't able to get that $1 million in. And so I had to shut it down. And that was good for my humility because before that, 2010, 2009, you can't afford anything. You buy all your material out in your American Express card. You get millions of points. You can take your family on vacations. You can fly them anywhere and not spend a penny, just spending your points. You go to any kind of dinner. The dinner we had last night, I'm sure wasn't cheap, by the way. Thank you guys. Yeah, definitely appreciate that. To all of a sudden, my customers aren't paying me, so it's going to be hard for me to pay my vendors, right? And now I didn't come from money. You talked about growing up poor. My dad was a pastor, never made more than $30,000 in 1 year. I mean, we came up, I joke with my kids, they think it's a joke, and that is, we were so poor we couldn't afford pockets because my mom would sew our clothes, right? And pocket would be extra material.
People think I'm making the stuff up. My mom used to buy 2 gallons of milk. She would go and get 2 gallons of milk on food stamps, like actual food stamps that look like money, colored. You remember those ones? I don't know if you ever. But it was food stamps. So she would buy these 2 gallons of milk, and what we would do, and I'm not making this up, bro. She would take 2 empty gallons that we had at the house, and she would divide those with the 2 halves. So then you'd have 4 half gallon. You should rinse them out water and stuff. 4 half gallon of whole milk. She would then take powdered milk.
Yeah.
and dump it inside there with water
Yep.
and shake them up, and then stick 3 in the freezer and then 1 in the refrigerator for our cereal in the morning.
Yeah.
And then we would make that last a month on the 4 gallons of milk that we pull out of the freezer with powdered milk being half of it in water.
Right.
And then it just tastes like shit.
Right.
But that's what we did. We would eat watermelon sometimes for dinner. Like my mom would get 2 watermelons in Florida where we grew up at the time. And we didn't have any money. And she would just cut like a watermelon, just a shit ton of watermelon. And that's, with some ramen noodle or something. And that's like what the dinner was.
Yeah.
So like, it just, when you're coming from that and you're going into this, like, that's why we don't take it for granted.
Well, having that perspective is so huge, right? So I ended up shutting that company down, laid everybody off, flew around the country, shut everything down. I often say the best I've had to be in business was when I shut that company down all by myself, which was not easy. And you have to stop paying yourself. So I had stopped paying myself for like a year and a half. So burned through all of our savings, life insurance. The only thing I didn't cash in was the 529s, which is for your kids' schooling, right? And not that there was a ton there, but there was plenty of times I was ready to cash that in, but I didn't. So that was great for me to be humble, because it was like I went from being able to afford anything, and we can go to any city and sign contracts. We had 400 contracts signed in Denver within a month, and we didn't even have an office yet. Our contracts had the UPS store.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, the P.O. box.
So when you can get out and sell and do these things, you kind of feel like I could do everything, right? I mean, I can't be stopped. And then you can get a little cocky. You were talking about the cockiness, right?
Yeah.
That's something now that I'm almost 55. I feel like I'm kind of getting rid of that, but it's still there. Like
you got to have a little bit. I mean, we're sales people.
You got to have a little dog in you, but there's a difference between having the dog and being cocky, right? Like, so, but it was good for me. And then I went to a company called Legacy Restoration. I was there for 6 years, helped them build that up. They were one of the first companies to go the private equity realm. They did that like in 2021. But so when I left there, I started this company called Adams Business Results. This is my consulting company, and I coach, and I run a mastermind with Tony Flatham as well called One More Door. And we do all sorts of different things through Adams Business Results. But the last hat here is this is Built Strong, right? Yes. So they're a client of mine. They've been a client of mine for almost 6 years.
Hell yeah.
And we just started, when we started out, it was 2 hours a week. And the more that we worked together, the more that we enjoyed working together, and we helped, obviously, Built Strong become to what it is now. And it's such a joy to be able to work with Built Strong. I say this to Tony all the time. You're the best owner I know in the business. And he'll one time he kind of got upset with me, like, why do you say that? Like he's not believing it that it's true. And I'm just like, dude, owners have all these different characteristics, but one of the things that you have is that you are slow to react and respond, meaning you're not going to come off half-cocked and make a bad decision because you're pissed in the moment.
Yeah.
Right? So he has the rare quality of being able to keep, even, you can tell when he's frustrated, but he keeps it even-keeled. And that allows for good decisions to be made. It allows for people to approach him. If you're an owner who's upset and pissed off, your people will not want to approach you.
Yeah.
Right. So that, to me, that approachability, and he doesn't make knee-jerk decisions. So anytime I've seen him make an important decision, he takes his time and thinks it through thoroughly. And and I just think back of the things that he's done in his career with investing into properties when he first started out in the young 20s. Having that kind of, he has this way about him that involves time. Like, he understands the power of time. Like a quick response would not be good.
Yeah.
An extended game plan. Putting money away may not be your highest rate that you're going to earn, but it's safe and it's fundamental. And so that's why I always say that he's a great owner, because He also truly wants the best for his people. Like, he wants them to succeed. He doesn't need Built Strong. He's made his money and he's got a nice empire with his real estate. He truly wants this company to grow and become bigger, not because I'm Tony Flatham and I run Built Strong. It's because here's Reed, here's Ty, here's Joe, here's Michelle, here's Mel. You know, all these people, he can help benefit their lives. And so that's why I just love working with him. And just, he's always forward thinking and open-minded.
Yeah.
Got to be open-minded because
100%.
there's so many new things that's going on.
Yeah,
right.
And we're getting cut off because we're pushing the hour mark on it.
Yeah, well, you guys are always talking so much.
I know.
I'm just trying to listen here.
I know. And what sucks about podcasts too, we always talk about it. It takes like 45 minutes to where you find the sweet spot and the groove, and then you start really. People open up and they start talking more, and then you're down a rabbit hole before you know it. And like, you're the same as we had Tony on here recently and Reed, and it's just an hour's not enough time. But unfortunately, like for us, it's just we don't want to put too much pressure on the editors and stuff with it too. So like cutting it off at the hour mark is like the sweet spot for listeners and stuff.
Well, and I on purpose withheld because I expect a re-invite, so we need part 2.
100%. Yes. No. You and Tony, even Reed, like 100%. We want you guys to come to our neck of the woods next time.
For sure.
We'll go out to the casino that they just built over by us. They got a really great steakhouse there.
Okay,
and,
nice.
Yeah. But yeah, man, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for all the hospitality and advice and honestly mentorship, even if you don't mean to.
Yeah.
You are somebody that we look up to. Tony is someone that we look up to. Build Strong is a company that we look up to. So
appreciate it.
Yeah, fully. Thank you, dude.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Like I learned so much in our previous working together. So
yeah,
I don't know if I ever say it enough how much I appreciate you, but you're my dog and I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. And likewise to you guys. I mean, you guys you're doing different things. This Roof Trollz, right? This is different. You're not doing business as usual. So us old dogs can learn from the young bucks as well. Because
appreciate
it's like,
that, man.
we can keep doing the same things, but if you can make it more fun, if you can get more business, help with your recruiting, help with customers, why not, right?
Yep. And guys, if you're listening, Ty Adams, look him up online, follow him. Guy's doing amazing things. One more door if you're not in that program. Get in that program. And if you don't listen to Roof Trollz, well, fuck it then. We don't even need to hear you anyway. But all honesty, guys, this has been real. It's been fun. And as usual, guys, see you on the next one.
Take care.